Chapter 3. I thought the splitting headache I had before was bad, but it was nothing compared to the 40 jackhammers pounding away inside my skull now. Plus it feels like I've been spritzed with acid over my whole body, and as my eyes come back into focus, I see a nice little splattering of blood on my chest, which takes me much too long to realize is dripping from my nose. Unholy ninja monkeys on demon pogo sticks that hurt, I moan, crawling into my command chair. I grab the tube for my left arm and try to shove it in my arm implant, only to realize that I'm still wearing my monkey molesting combat suit. Muttering a long string of undeserved curses against the makers and designers of combat suits, I finally wiggle my complaining body out of the beaver munching thing and get my drug and food tube into my left arm implant. After what feels like an eternity, some of the most wonderful drugs in the known galaxy start pumping through my system. Flaming lotus eaters, that feels good. I'm about to start extolling the virtues of the Drug Tech Corp, when I remember that I'm not alone in my blade's cockpit. The cockpit of my Star Blade is more roomy than one would think, considering it's a fighting mecha. The cockpit is about 10 feet square with equipment and armor storage on the left and a small sonic hygiene stall on the right. The front of the cockpit has a heavily reinforced window in the front that is currently covered by an irising metal shutter. The center of the cockpit is left open, leaving enough room for me to stand up straight, and is not quite big enough for me to stretch out without hitting the walls. The rear of the cockpit is where the command chair is, a large high-tech throne where I spend most of my time. The chair resembles a massive foam-covered easy chair the color of ice blue, surrounded by a nest of gleaming chrome snakes. I have no idea, because I refuse to go back and look at my cockpit footage of how I looked right then, but I did have blood dripping from my nose down the front of my bare chest and was wearing nothing but a pair of Star Knight issue shorts. Not quite the Star Knight in gleaming Dynachrome armor you were expecting, I quipped to the chick in her torn and rumpled business suit, staring at me like she couldn't compute who and what I was. The girl had long, rumpled, bright red hair that fell covering half of her face, and while she wasn't the most curvaceous woman, she still had a chest on her, but while she looked a little haggard, she didn't have any visible signs of injury. She just stood there staring at me, so I shrugged, reclining in my large comfy chair, and said, "I'm Ice Wolf of the Ice Fellowship, awakened Knight of the Stars. I was tasked with the retrieval of one." I surreptitiously glanced at a monitor next to my chair because I had forgotten the name of the hostage. Bite me, I have a bad memory. Jade Steel Stone Blood. Is that you? I ask hopefully, because I didn't want to remove my food and drug tube to try and rescue some other chick. Finally, the woman blinks, shakes her head, and says in a strange tone, "Yes, that's me. Did my family or company send you? Miss, I'm a Star Knight. I've got a big robot, a warp blade, and funky mana powers. My superior in the Order of Star Knights gave me info and a ride and a suggestion, but I chose to rescue you. Just like I would for anyone in your situation, that is what we Star Knights do. I am of course lying out my donkey. I got ordered by my teacher to do this mission, and if I had chosen to disobey, they would turn on my inhibitor chip that would cut off my implants, so I couldn't hook up to my blade anymore, and then they would make me disappear, but that drivel is what we are told to tell the masses. Sadly, my words don't seem to have the desired effect. What do you know of my situation?" Jade says, turning her back to me. I was about to try to come up with something suave and witty when a horrible wail filled the cockpit. "Unholy smock rockers," I yell, grabbing my power implant line and start shoving it in my arm. Jade spins around and asks, "What was that?" looking worried. "Someone just shot my blade," I say, fumbling with my neck implant lines. "But I didn't feel anything," Jade said questioningly. "The null inertial field in the cockpit. Catch you on the flip side," I say, finally plugging my final line into my implant and dropping into combat sleep. Opening my eyes in my dreamscape, I see through my blade's optical sensors, along with other information being fed directly into my mind. The first of this information is that the enemies are blasting away at my general direction, not directly at me thanks to my blade's camouflage, but they are putting out enough firepower in the general area that my shields are still getting hammered. Now the shields on my blade are ridiculously strong when I'm powering them, and I'm not even that talented in that particular set of awakened powers, and still I could shrug off a small nuke with my current shields. The weakest of my 3 powers is my blasting. A talented blaster knight can punch a hole through a planet. Rumor said someone actually managed to pull that off, or so I'd been told. But once my brain finishes processing, I can put my greatest awakened power to work, namely my rift jumping. When I'm happily cocooned in my blade's command chair, I can rift jump my entire 40-foot blade easier and farther than when I'm in my meat body. While it is true that my blasting is my weakest ability, I simply compensate with tech-based weapons. Giving a quick scan of the info being fed into my brain, I find that there are 5 wings. 2 are firing away at my mecha, the others are heading towards me after leaving the terraforming plant's hangar. Wing is the slang for the pure tech counterpart of the Star Knight's mana-powered battle mecha, the Blade. Most governments use them as their main fighting machines. They are man-shaped giant robots that use a form of crystal drive for maneuverability. In fact, with very little modification, a wing can be turned into a blade, but wings lacking the mana power from the blade's pilot are pale shadows of a true Starblade piloted by an awakened Star Knight. Giving a quick mental scan of my sensor readings, I pinpoint my first target. The enemy wings have formed up in a loose V-shape, firing their guns into my blade's shield, trying to bring it down. A blade's shields, while tough, can be brought down in a couple of ways, though none of which are quick or easy. The most common is to just pound away at the shield with enough firepower for long enough and the shield will fall, exposing the relatively weak armor. But I'm not planning on letting that happen, so with a quick effort I rift jump my blade behind their formation and cut loose. My 2 main guns are a PPC, or particle projection cannon, which fires a bolt of ionized particles that wreaks havoc on shields, joined by my second weapon, a plasma Gatling cannon, a mecha-sized variant of the gun the bad dudes were shooting me with. "Kiss this, you wanker," I yell as my PPC drops one of the opposing wing's shields with a fully charged blast, then my plasma Gatling stitches a line of destruction across its back. Looks like these wings aren't top of the line. This fight will be fun. The wings don't stand a chance against me. My blade boosts my jumping ability, so I don't even feel the strain of my jumps. After I take the first one down, they try to scatter, but like my namesake, I chase them down one at a time, rift jumping in close and giving them a fully charged blast from my PPC, and then follow up with a spray of plasma bolts that shreds their outdated mecha. With only one wing left, I stop, because I feel a strange feeling that I've never felt before when piloting. Worrying it might be a malfunction or a strange new weapon, I jump a full 10 miles straight up from the planet and try to figure out what the heck is happening. First, I scan my readings in my mind with a simple thought: hull integrity is 100%, shields holding strong, all implants nominal, air, water, food, and drug stocks good. Then I think to cut on my internal cameras and see a worried-looking Jade looking down on me, rubbing at my bloody chest with a rag. When a Star Knight enters combat sleep, the foam of our chairs rises up, gripping our limbs but not fully covering them, since we tend to twitch like an old dog that is sleeping, especially when we are in combat. I cut on the internal communication system and opened up a monitor and swivel it to face her, looking at her with a digital representation of my face. Jade must not have known what was happening, because my cockpit window is closed and my shields removed any of the effects of the battle, well, except the sounds of my guns firing. "Sorry about that," I say through my internal speakers instead of my meat mouth, and see as Jade jumps and looks around, finally turning to stare at the screen. "I'll try and finish up out here quickly, but one of the enemy wings is still out here. Feel free to watch. I've linked one of my internal monitors to my blade's optical sensors." Then I shut off the internal camera and jump back down to the battlefield below, only to find that the last wing is nowhere to be seen. "Zort munchers," I grumble, turning on my more powerful active scanners and sweeping the area, but it is gone. Then my sensors detect an energy surge from the installation hangar and a ship with 2 new wings escorting it, along with the last missing one, come blasting out, blowing the hangar doors apart as they pass through. Worried that there might be innocents caught in the crossfire, or hoping I can capture a terrorist or 2 for someone else to get info out of, I decide to try to disable the ship instead of just blasting it out of the sky. The ship is a small fancy one, only about 200 feet long, and looks like some rich dude's personal pleasure craft, and it probably was before the terrorists grabbed it. A quick rift jump puts me directly over the ship and I cut loose with my guns at the 2 new wings. These wings are a newer model, so their shields take a few more shots, but soon they go spiraling down to smoky crashes in short order. The last wing takes me by surprise by zipping up from below the ship and, instead of shooting me, rams me with his wing. Now this is both a brilliant move and a really stupid one because of how shields work. Current shield tech causes a protective field of exotic extra-dimensional matter to wrap around whatever it is protecting, but if you press 2 shielded things together, after a few seconds of sparking, the shields will merge and try to cover both objects with a single large shield, making it so the objects can attack each other. It's one of the few decent tactics that can be employed to get through a Star Knight shield. Of course, for this reason, Star Knights have several counters to this, the simplest being to simply point one of my crystal drive crystals at the attacker and fire a force blast through it. I'm not the strongest blaster out there, but as with jumping, my blade enhances my blasts. Focusing on the ramming wing, as soon as the shields are starting to merge, I hit him with a full power force blast which crumples the front of his wing chest piece like a drink can. The enemy wing is flung off me and I salute the mad lad pilot, as his ruined wing falls like a meteor down to the planet below. Turning back to the rapidly fleeing ship, I jump up next to it and fumble mentally to turn on my communications. This is Star Knight Ice Wolf. I order you to cut your engines and return to the surface to face justice, or you will be fired upon. I sound so cheesy. I'm seriously going to have to come up with some better lines for this kind of thing. The ship responds by opening a gun port on the side and letting me have a pretty respectable plasma blast right in my Starblade's kisser. It takes me a second to recover and jump back into position, and I open up, targeting the pole-smoking ship's engines, and start chewing through their shields. Just as the enemy shields are starting to fail, I foolishly decide to give them one last chance to surrender because I'm that cocky and stupid. I manage to dodge their reply in the form of another blast, but now they have broken through the planet's atmosphere. Shortly my plasma Gatling slags their crystal drives. Zort, now I've got a damaged enemy ship, but my pickup ship is not set to return for another couple of hours. Thinking I should probably stop its headlong charge into the void, I fly in front and start using light force blasts to slow it down. Now in the known universe there are two forms of faster than light travel. There are good old FTL engines that make a ship fly really fast. By using some sort of quantum trickery, a ship can go several times the speed of light, but you need functioning engines, and most trips still take months to years to travel between stars. This form of space travel is what humans used during the first great expansion, firing off hundreds of ships with small crews to set up terraforming plants on any planet that could be fixed enough to support human life. Of course, then the corporations, after waiting a large number of years, would send a colony ship loaded down with bright-eyed suckers to build a new bastion for good old humanity. After you've got a thriving colony, the corporation or a government would send some warships, a governor and some taxmen, and welcome them into the universal government. In a not shocking turn of events, two separate governments came to power, and each one took over half of the colonized planets and then went to war with each other for several decades. Enter Dr. Albert West, a certified howling mad scientist who figured out how, through some truly shocking experiments and theories that still have the brightest minds of today scratching their collective heads, the good doctor came up with a way to infuse humans with mana, a poorly understood form of energy that allows people to perform many strange actions. After some more shocking experiments, the mad doctor created rift jump ships, rift jump beacons, and lastly Star Knights and Star Knots. He also revolutionized shields, engines, weapons, and coffee makers. Jump engines are still fairly rare because the Star Knights control the making of awakened humans, and while there are a lot more jump ship pilots than Star Knights the pilots, they are still pretty rare and tightly watched because of their strategic value. I, on the other hand, can't do long-range jumps to save my life because I can't feel the resonance of crystals that are outside the solar system I'm in, whereas jump ship pilots can reach out and pick out any crystal in any of the jump beacons which link all the known planets together. So needless to say, I was pissed when I had my little inner history monologue interrupted by the ship disappearing. I had finally stopped the ship and was trying to figure out what to do next. Its shields had finished rebooting or whatever they do, but it couldn't move. I was just about to open my comms and have another go at getting them to surrender, only to have the Zort-loving thing rift jump away. I was slightly cheesed off. How the pole-smoking monkey molesting chicken choking way did these dudes have a jump ship with a jump pilot?